What we see, taste, measure, and touch, ordinary matter, comprises only about 5% of the cosmos. The rest is dark matter and energy. You can believe that because I looked it up on the internet when I was pondering the darkness last night. With that Google search, I joined in the world of genius, or so some seem to think. It's instant genius syndrome, and that can be a problem, at least according to Tom Nichols, a professor of national security affairs at the U.S. Naval War College. He's written a book called The Death of Expertise. What's your definition of an expert, and how does the public distinguish between an expert and somebody who's holding himself out as one?
Experts are the people who have more knowledge in a specialized field and have devoted their life to it than other people. So it's necessarily somewhat exclusive. The people who hold themselves out as experts usually are people who don't have much of a track record and whose expertise is entirely dependent on them asserting it rather than proving it.
In a nutshell, what is the premise of the book?
The book is about why we don't listen to experts anymore. And it's not about skepticism of experts. It's about thinking that we're smarter than experts. Skepticism of experts is natural. It's a part of our culture. It's actually a very good part of American culture. What's changed is that people now say, I not only don't trust a doctor or a diplomat or an electrician or a photographer, I'm smarter than a doctor or a diplomat.
What do you blame for that?
Well, I think we've had a culture of narcissism that's been growing for a good 40 years in this country. We've kind of enabled a permanently adolescent youth culture. We have now convinced ourselves that self-esteem is the highest value in the classroom and in our personal lives. And I think that modern education, the modern media being segmented into so many different venues, and certainly the internet, have enabled and really empowered all of that narcissistic confidence, that unfounded narcissistic confidence.
In today's political environment, how does this apply, this idea that people don't listen to experts?
We're a republic. We require experts to advise politicians who make decisions on our behalf. So if people don't trust experts, and don't trust the politicians who have to rely on expert advice, then the whole system of Republican government starts to come apart.
Do you think part of the current problem has to do with so many experts being completely wrong when it came to campaign 2016?
This is such an interesting issue because the way people approach experts now is that if experts get one thing wrong, they assume the entire field is completely corrupt. Experts are going to get things wrong. Experts are going to make bad calls. There's no such thing as a 100% track record. Part of the problem is that when experts get things right, or when things go well, you don't hear about it. Expert failure is like plane crashes. People who are afraid to fly remember every plane crash. They don't think about the billions of safely traveled miles.
An expert is likely to be more accurate on something that he can currently comment on or that has happened versus predicting the future, true?
Yes, prediction is such a dicey business. The problem is, it's what the public demands of us.
And so how does this apply to college campuses?
Well, the self-esteem problem has gotten out of hand on college campuses, where the students' happiness is the ultimate value, and that professors are taught that students have to be kept happy and that they can't be made to feel bad about anything. Well, part of learning is being wrong.
If some of the problems you describe are not somehow resolved, what kind of future do you see?
I worry about some really catastrophic outcomes. People who doubt their doctors about things like vaccines or medical treatments could end up facing a pandemic. People who don't listen to economists or financial advisors could end up in an even worse recession or depression than the one we experienced the last time. People who don't trust diplomats, that's the worst outcome to me, is that we could find ourselves in a war because of populism and uninformed opinions.
When we find ourselves tweeting something out or correcting somebody or saying we know better, what would you suggest we say to ourselves?
Well, as someone who has certainly been on occasion pretty abrasive on Twitter myself, I think the first thing to ask yourself is, are you really right about this? Or are you simply giving in to the debater's imperative to be right?
By the way, Nichols is an expert in Russia, international security affairs, and teaching.